Hello everyone, welcome to this Cypress tutorial. In this tutorial, we will learn to chain the APIs using Cypress, and we will also be using a ChatGPT. So let's begin. First, let's understand the concept of API chaining, and then we will see practically how it works on the Cypress. So for this one, let me open the Paint here and assume that you have working on an application and it has multiple APIs. So the common APIs you might get is that registration, then you might have login, then you might have, like, let's take example of Facebook here. So you can post on wall, then you can add friends. So these are common APIs you have. And now the concept of API chaining is that you will be using a particular set of data for the registration, right? For example, you are registering with a username called testing funder using this registration API, and using this particular API you will get some response and user should get registered. Then with the same user you need to log in here. So using testing funder credentials, you need to log in. Then using this same user you need to post on the wall. So testing funder will post on wall, and similarly here testing funder will add friends. So how this will happen? So this is really simple here. So what we need to do is that we need to grab some response from this registration API first, which is your username and password. Then you need to pass here, and usually once you provide username and password you will get your access token or the authentication token. So based on this one you need to pass this token here, okay, and so that this API will know that testing funder is going to post on the wall. Otherwise this API will not recognize this one. Okay, so similarly for adding a friends we need to pass access token again. So how this will be done? Simply we need to extract a value from one API and save this value into a variable, and furthermore we need to call the variable. Okay, so simply if we talk about this example here, we will hit the login API with the testing funder credentials. It will return us in the form of a JSON. If we are talking about the REST API, so it will return a JSON and it should have some value, for example access token. Okay, and access token has some value. Now we will be extracting this value, and what we will do is that we will create a variable. So and the name is basically access token is the name of the variable here, and we need to save this value here. So 123 and then 1232. So we need to save this value into this particular variable. Now you can call this variable in your upcoming API request. So if we talk about this post on the wall, so basically in post on wall we need this access token. So we will be just calling this variable here. So the variable name is access token, and then the rest of the parameters which are required for the post on the wall. So it will create a chain of the APIs, and this is known as chaining of APIs or API chaining, right? And now let me go to this particular website, which is this one. So let me copy the URL from here and let's go to the browser here and open this one. So this is the website, so from where we can actually pick up some dummy APIs, and here you will find multiple APIs, and we have different methods available. Get, post, put, patch, delete are available. And now if you see that if we hit this particular endpoint with page equals to 2, it should return page parameter equals to 2, per page record 6, total records 12, total pages 2, and the data as well. And if we want a particular user needs to be fetched, so this API needs to be used, and here you will see that we have to provide a ID, right? So first what we can do is that we will hit this API, we will get the value from here or here, and using this ID we will be passing this value dynamically here. Here right now it says /2, so /2 is basically the ID of the user. So instead of providing this thing as a hard-coded, we will be providing a dynamic value here, so that you can automate the APIs, so that you can get runtime values. You don't need to go again and again and change the values when you're executing your test. Okay, so now let me go to Visual Studio Code here, and what I'll do is that I will go here in my API testing section. Let me create one new file. I'm naming it as API chaining.js, and what I'll do is that I will copy one line of the code from here. Let me copy from it here and paste it here. Now what we need to do is that we need to use a describe block, and inside the describe block we know that we need to create the it block for the test, and in order to send a request as an API request, we need to use a method called CY.request. Now let's write a describe block here, and we need to provide the name of this particular describe block. So I'm saying it as API chaining, and then we need a callback function here, and this is a body of callback function. And simply what we need to do is that we need to use a it block, and my test case is that validate user dynamically from all list of users. So this is my test case here, and again we need a callback function here. Simply I would be using callback function. This is the body here, and now inside this one what I need to do is that I need to send a request. So cy.request, and I need to provide the URL of this particular API. So this is a get API, so we don't need to provide a method here. In case if you are using post, put or patch, you need to provide the method as well, and in case of the post, put or patch, you also need to provide the body. So let me go back here and let me click on this one so that I can get the complete URL of this one. So this is a complete URL. Let me copy this one from here and let me paste it here. And once we will hit this particular API, then we need a response, and from that response we will be extracting the ID, and again we need to save this ID somewhere in particular variable, and in our next upcoming call we would be passing that variable. Okay, so meanwhile what I'll do is that let me open the Cypress runner. So npx cypress open, and now simply here after hitting this then, and we need to save this in some particular variable. I'm calling it as response. You can use any of this one, and simply the arrow function. And so once we hit this particular API, we are saving the response in this particular variable. And now what I'll do is that I need to extract a value. Okay, so if I let me open the Postman here, so in Postman it will be appropriate to see the particular data. So let me open the Postman here, and so basically this is the API, this is the get method, and simply I will hit this one here. So we got the response here, right? And if I look into this particular response, so we have a array of objects in the parameter called data. We have parameter page and all these things. So for example, if I need to get this ID, which is 7, but the problem is that we have another same parameter ID with a different value, and this is an array object, right? So how we can get the particular value? So that's really simple here. So what I need to do is that, so from complete response, I need a body, because response contains headers as well different other parameters. So body, then inside the body, if I go back to the Postman, so this is my complete body. So inside the body we have data. Okay, and let me go here, so dot data, and this is the array, right? So if I talk about the array itself, so array is based on the indexes, right? So this is the first object, so this is placed on the 0 index, so array start with the 0, then this placed on the 1 index, this is on the second index, and so on. So let me go back here, let me tell here, so I'm now telling that get the response, and after response go to the body, then inside the body go to data which is present on index 0. Now what I need is ID, right? So simply what I'll do is that let me save it here as user ID. Okay, now we have extracted the value and save it into a variable. Now what I'll do is that simply I will create another CY.request here. CY.request, and as we know that we can write the options here as well, just like this one. So we can provide the different options we need. So this is another way. If you haven't checked my tutorials, you can check my previous tutorials, you will learn about this one as well. So simply what I need to provide is that I need a method here, and the method is basically a get, and then what I need is a URL of this particular API. So URL and we need to provide the URL. So if I go back to the documentation of the APIs, so this is a call which provides a single URL, single user actually, sorry. So if I click on this one, so this is the API, and here is sending a hard-coded value as a 2 for the user 2. So let me go back here and provide this one. Okay, and now let me save this one, and let's go to the test runner here, and let's run this API chaining thing and see what happens. So both APIs should work, and this is a static way, these are not changed, both APIs are working fine. We are getting 200 response here, but here you see that we are getting this second user here because we are providing this value as a hard-coded value. Right now we need to make it dynamic, and we need to change both APIs. Right, simply what I'll do is that I will concatenate this variable which is user ID. Okay, now let's save this one and see here we got the response in terms of a user 7, and both APIs are working fine. And now if I want to get some other ID from here, so if I go, and here what I'm saying is that data, and what data, which is present on array index 2, and from that pick up the ID. Right, so let me save this one. So here you see that the API got executed successfully here, and we got the user with the ID 9. So that's how you can change your APIs, where you need to extract a value from one API and you need to pass in subsequent APIs or other APIs. That's how you can do it in Cypress. So let's go to ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT says about API chaining in Cypress automation. So let me rephrase this one. How to do API chaining in Cypress automation, and let's see what ChatGPT suggests about this one. So API chaining in Cypress automation is a technique that allows you to make a sequence of API calls where the output of one call is used as an input of next. So this is what we did. And to do the API chaining in Cypress automation, you can use .10. This is what we did. So here is an example. So simply you can see that they use then response, and you can extract a value, and this is how you can provide a value. So this is exactly a correct way, and you see this is how they provided variable here. If you need to provide a variable somewhere between the call, you need to provide the curly braces. So this is 100% correct, and that's how you can change the APIs. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you like our content, then do like, comment, share and subscribe our channel. Once again, thank you so much, and see you in the next tutorial.